Hey, what's up? This is Spider One,
And this is Chrissy Fox,
and you are listening to.
the Horror Squad podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Horror Squad podcast. This is episode number 380, where tonight we will be talking about 2025's Sinners. I'm here, of course, as always, with Steve. We are Toddless tonight. I know. Don't be sad. Steve, get a lot of pressure on you with the
Mm.
plot synopsis
Yeah, I
later.
know. I've been
But
stressing about it all week.
yes, I can imagine. But yeah, Tall will be back next week. I think he has some family visiting or something like that. So we'll see you next week, Todd. But in the meantime, Steve, got a little movie update. I saw something in the Discord this week that looked a little spooky. So let's hear it.
Yeah, so I finally started I'd say official pre-production on my movie where I'm actually putting on the makeup and doing kind of screen tests for things to see what they look like on camera and what alterations I should make, depending on what it looked like. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's funny, I actually did movie club and I'll talk about it later during what watch, but I didn't time it well, so I still had my makeup on, but not my costume, so I looked ridiculous. But the people in movie club, man, so polite. No one said anything for super until one person came in super late, just accepting the fact that my face was painted red for whatever reason. So yeah, it's fun. I gave a little bit of a teaser on Discord and on Instagram. I sent Joe and Todd the full shots, but I did a way close up of my face. And it's funny because it came out terrifying, and that character is not supposed to look terrifying in that particular scene. He's supposed to look terrifying later in the movie, so it's okay, maybe I need to alter it a little bit or do something. But yeah, it's that I think it's an important part of the process, and I'm psyched to finally just be filming stuff and getting rid of everything. So it's I'm getting excited about it now.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm just trying to link up with my buddy Mike to work on our costume. But yeah, we're currently in pre-production too. We're hoping to do a table read end of May and then filming late June, early July at the latest. So yeah, and then it's to editing and whatnot, which I think Steve and Todd are taking over editing for me and stuff. And yeah, so hopefully mid to early 2026 we will have this puppy out for you guys. We're super excited for you guys to see it. We are hoping to do a one night movie premiere type thing. We'll give you guys details and updates on that once we have confirmed everything. I think the plan is to do it in Salem, but we haven't discussed everything yet. So once we know for sure, we'll give you guys full details on that for the movie premiere. It'll be completely free, and you guys will have first dibs if you want to make the trip to go to it and stuff like that. So
Yeah, and if you don't, I get it. Salem's could be really
right,
far from
yeah,
you. I think our online premiere will probably be a movie club. I'll show it
nice.
exclusively before it hits any services, just as a kind of heads up to. I'll probably do two, one for backers and one for Discord and stuff. So
Nice.
yeah.
Cool. Awesome. A couple more updates before we get into the rest of the episode. It's just a bunch of Halloween weekend in Salem. If you are an email subscriber, tickets did go on sale for the additional two events we have going. The screening at the Cabot Theater in Beverly, which the one, if you came last year, if you knew anything, if you saw all the pictures from last year, there is they screen Hocus Pocus with live commentary from the actors. It was a really, really fun time. Steve, myself, and Todd, we hosted that one. There'll be a Q&A and stuff. We don't know our full involvement in that one yet. We will be involved some way, somehow this year as well. But so if you want tickets to have gone on sale for that event, and it was damn near close to selling out last year. And with the popularity growing, it will probably sell out this year. So definitely grab your tickets. And then the other event, super secret event, all I can say is it involves Omri Katz, Tobias Jelinek, and Larry Bagby. The three of them And that's all I can say. It's a super secret event with the three of them. Once you buy tickets for that event, you will receive details about the event. But it's very fun, very cool, very unique, and very limited. The van that we rented for that, I think, only holds like 14 people or something like that. So very unique and limited event for that super secret event. And I think one more event may be coming. We'll keep you updated. But those two events are now on sale uh, through email subscriber. I think they're going to go on sale to the general public within the next week or two. But just make sure you sign up for the email list on it's just a bunch of Halloween.com. Scroll to the bottom, you'll see an email subscriber button. Just put in your email and it's easy. Also, for those of you local to me, I will be at Wicked Weekend, the halfway to Halloween festival in Salem this Saturday. So the day after this, if you're listening, the day after this recording releases, I will be moderating some of the panels throughout the day. Sam from Halloween Happy will be there vending as well, along with a lot of great other vendors as well. There'll be a lot of haunt actors there and just a whole bunch of fun stuff going on to celebrate halfway to Halloween. I'll be starting hosting panels at 1 p.m. I'll be hosting the Spooky World panel, which for those of you who are from New England know Spooky World is one of the premier haunts, has been going for 30 plus years. We'll have a few of the haunt actors up there as well as the haunt manager Amber for that panel. And then at 2 o'clock, I will be chatting with Alexandra De Colibus, who runs Halloween New England, which is a website that basically details all of the things going on in and around New England, all the fun Halloween events and whatnot. Then at 3 o'clock, I'll be talking with Mike and Jana, who run Barrett's Haunted Mansion, which is the other, besides Spooky World, it is one of the other big premier haunts in New England as well. We will be talking everything involving that event, including their big tease for this year, which, if you are a fan of The Thing, you will definitely be wanting to head to Barrett's Haunted Mansion this year. And then the final panel I'll be hosting will be at 5 o'clock, and that will be Katie, who works for Spooky World. She'll be doing a live makeup demo, and that one should be pretty cool because Katie has been in the haunt industry for 30 plus years. So she is going to have a lot of great stories, and we are going to kind of talk about her whole sort of career while she's doing live makeup demo on people from the audience. So it should be really fun. It should be pretty cool. One really cool thing about Katie I learned throughout our email exchanges is she actually does training exercises for disasters and stuff like that. She does makeup to replicate actual wounds and stuff like that for first responders and stuff like that. So that's really cool. I'm excited to kind of talk to her about that, and she's also worked in movies and TV and stuff like that as well. So that should be a really great panel as well. So yeah, 1, 2, 3, and 5. Those are the 4 panels I'll be hosting. So if you're coming, come and check out one of the panels and see me. I'll be there representing the squad, and yeah, it should be a really great time. Tickets are still on sale, but they are selling out quick. The first 4 or 5 sessions have sold out, so you can head to wickednewengland.info for tickets for that. You're better off buying tickets in advance if you can, because if they sell out day of, you won't be able to get tickets at the door. And yeah, that's all I got. So I think, Steve, it is time to move on to the show and get into what watch. So tell me, what you been watching this week? I know you had movie club. I think you guys watched a movie over there, right?
Yeah. So we had movie club, and as always, an amazing group of people showed up. We got a pretty good big showing. It's been actually pretty good for the last few months, where we've had a lot of people show up. This month we watched 2014's ABCs of Death 2, which was watched over on Tubi. And if you're not familiar with the concept of ABCs of Death, it's a like an anthology series where they hire 26 directors and they assign them a letter from the alphabet, and basically it's the 26 letters of the alphabet. So there's 26 short movies in this compilation. It's about 2 hours total, everything like that. And there's some known directors in there. In this one in particular, there was the Soska sisters, Stephen Kostansky, who's known for Psycho Gorman, and a bunch of others. So, so it was always cool to see. It's actually interesting because as we're watching him, we'd be like, wow, this really looks like, this movie. Like there was one, they were like, holy shit, it was a claymation one. And we're like, this looks a lot like stop motion. And sure enough, it was the same person as stop motion. The same thing with Stephen Kostansky, where as I'm watching it, I'm telling the people on the stream, like, man, this really reminds me of Manborg, who's the same guy who did Psycho Gorman. And then, of course, it was him. So, yeah, so it's cool to see kind of their styles and everything like that. Like any anthology, it's hit and miss depending on the short. And since there's 26 of them, you're definitely going to have your bangers and then some that you're like, oh, okay, that wasn't that good. I will say, I feel like it starts off really well, like A to F or G, really, really solid films. And then it kind of goes through a slump, especially around the like M area, like around that time. There's like three in a row, which are like abuse on women for some reason, and it's super difficult to watch. The one from the Soska twins in particular was just like, ugh, like just gross in the sense that it's not something I really want to see. Even though it is a revenge one, it's still like, I don't know. Maybe after three of them, it was getting a little tiresome, but it ends super strongly as well. So at least it leaves you with a good taste in your mouth. And yeah, there's some cool stuff. You have animated ones, you have claymation ones, you have live action ones. Some are black and white, some are period pieces, some are in the future. It's really cool mix of films, and there are three of these. So ABCs of Death, ABCs of Death 2, and there's ABCs of Death 2.5, which I believe 2.5 is 26 films with all the same letter. It's like R or something for some reason. So yeah, so I'd recommend the series if you like to see creativity and short films and everything like that. I gave it a 2.5 stars out of 5. I will say that I think the first one is better than the second one if you're gonna watch one of them. And I kind of pulled the people who were on the movie club, and they're all in the 2 to 3 range as well. It's cool, it was a fun format for a movie club, but also not the best ever with the score there. So next movie club is actually not going to be last Friday of the month. It's going to be last Saturday of the month, May 31st, because I'm hoping that Joe will be available to show up. Of course, it depends on his work schedule and everything like that. But he is picking the nominations. I'm going to put a vote in May. I just got to make sure that they're actually available as of May, because there's a turnaround in movies as of the beginning of the month. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see kind of Joe's flair and his picks. So hopefully you can make it, Joe.
Yes, all depends. I mean, I should be able to, but sometimes I get called for overtime and stuff. But I'm gonna definitely do my very best to make the movie club this month, and I'm picking. And I'll give you the theme, because I did pick a theme, and we're doing found footage, of course, one of my favorite subgenres of horror. So stick around. I picked some good ones. Hopefully they'll be available come once the calendar changes to May, and we'll be able to get those. But there's some cool ones in there, and let you guys vote, and I think we'll have a good one no matter what you guys pick. All right, my only one tonight is a rewatch, actually, because I saw it was available. It just came onto Netflix recently, and I hadn't watched it, I think, since it released, and that is Talk to Me. Talk to Me was one of the top horror movies, I think, when it came out a couple years ago. A lot of people talking about it, so I wanted to see, does it hold up? Is it as great as I remember it? For those of you who maybe have never seen it, once again, for you Americans, it is available over on Netflix. It is about basically a group of friends that find this sort of hand. It just sort of appears. They don't really find it, I guess. Like, we just kind of see it right off the bat. But basically, it's this like ceramic hand, and when you touch it and say "talk to me," basically you can communicate with spirits. You see them like right in front of you when you're touching the hand, like you're not touching the hand of the spirit you're communicating with. And then if you say "I let you in," the spirit enters your body, possesses you, and sounds terrifying, but these kids think it's fucking like the best thing ever, and almost like treat it like a party night and almost like a drug, where they're like just filming each other possessed and like talking and stuff. And then one of these possessions goes wrong, And from there, they have to figure out, how can we fix this? How can we reverse this? And yeah, that's the movie. Yeah, man, it's been a little bit since I had seen it, and with their new movie coming out, the Filippo brothers, I want to say, their new movie, was it Bring Her Back is coming out, so I'm very excited for that. And Talk to Me Too should be coming out, I think, sometime next year. And yeah, man, I gotta say this movie definitely held up for me. It's just such a cool story. It's it's like a really unique take on the ghost story. You know, it's I was it's never there's never really a dull moment, and I think there's some just really genuinely creepy moments. Some that I wish they extended on even more, but they didn't. But that's kind of nitpicking, and I hope maybe we get more in the second movie regarding sort of, I guess, like the world behind the curtain, like where these spirits are coming from and stuff like that. Because there's some really terrifying scenes when like the brother is sort of possessed and stuff like that, and she kind of goes in and sees kind of this just horrific like thing going on and stuff. So I hope they expand on that a little more in the second movie. But as this movie stands, I still think it's great. My score has not changed. I still give it a 4.5 out of 5. It's still one of my It still would, justifiably was my number one movie from that year. And yeah, I love it. So that's Talk to Me from, it says 2022, but I think it was a 2023 release when we reviewed it. And yeah, you can check it out on Netflix.
Cool. My last one this week is a 2025 film that I watched over on Shudder, and it is Spider-One's new movie, Little Bites. So this one stars his partner, Chrissy Fox, both of which we interviewed maybe 2 years ago when they did Bury the Bride. So this story is about a mother who makes a deal with a vampire to spare her daughter as long as she feeds the vampire. So she basically, like, anytime that the vampire is hungry, she has to go in a room to get her her blood sucked from different parts of her body. And this is like months into this process. The daughter is actually living with the mom at this point, because the like her mom, like the grandmother at this point, because she doesn't want her in the house with the vampire. And she's just like, you could tell she's not looking good. She got bags under her eyes. Her eyes are kind of like, like they look really tired, like really dark. And every time the vampire's hungry, he rings this fucking little bell, and she has to go into the room, and she's like begging him, like, please, don't, bite me on my arm because my arm's getting infected and I need it to heal. And he's like, no, fuck you. If I want the arm, you're giving me the arm. She's like, no, please do the leg. Nope. I want the arm, you get the arm. So you could tell the pain that she goes through every time this vampire is getting fed. So she decides to make a deal with him that she just can't sustain that anymore because it's killing her. So she says, "Can I like find people to replace me? Like I'll, drug them, bring them to the house, and then you can eat them instead." He reluctantly agrees, and that's kind of where the story takes off, is her trying to find ways to keep this vampire's hunger in check, and just to make sure that her daughter is safe, which he's constantly kind of threatening if she doesn't do what he says. This movie is a really interesting movie in the sense that it's very clearly trying to portray spousal abuse. The vampire is kind of like an abusive husband, but just put into a horror light, as being a vampire. Chrissy Fox delivers a fantastic performance in this. I was really impressed with her. You feel her pain every time that bell rings, man. You just see her whole life like sink just in the way that she looks and everything, and you just feel really bad for her. And then the guy who plays the vampire is also really, really good and kind of steals the scene anytime he's into it. I won't say who they are, because it was a surprise to me and I thought that was really cool. There's like horror legends that show up randomly in this film, like three really big, like kind of iconic horror actors that show up. That was kind of a big surprise every time that they showed up. So that was cool. My problem with it is that, man, it's slow. It is such a slow moving movie to the point where there's these like long periods where really nothing is going on. It just lacks like a lasting impact to me because it's just not a whole lot going on, you know? I do recommend it though for people just to see kind of like the performances, the horror icons and everything like that. It just it felt like the whole movie they're on neutral. Like it could have really gone there at some point, especially when she starts bringing in the victims and stuff. But it never quite goes there in a way that was satisfying, at least to me. So I would say I enjoyed it, but it's not like it would make anywhere near my top 10. I actually gave 2.5 stars out of 5 just because it was kind of a drag to watch. Despite the kind of low score, I would still recommend it. So that's Little Bites over on Shudder.
All right. Yeah, I've been wanting to check that one out. I just haven't heard like everyone who reviewed it on Letterboxd, it was all like
In
two
that
and a half and
range. Yeah.
lower. Yeah, so I'm like,
It,
you
it, I'd
like
recommend at least
semi?
checking it out
Was
though.
it better than
Just
Bury the Bride?
no, I think I gave Barry the
No.
Bride a 3, so
Yeah.
probably
All
not.
right.
It's I still if you get a chance, I'd still like check it out though, you know. Like
Okay.
I came close to giving Chrissy Fox my kind of actress of the year so far, but I don't know. I don't think it was above Sophie Thatcher's role in Companion. So,
Yeah, right.
but yeah, still very amazing performance from her in this.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, thank you,
Yeah,
Steve.
you're welcome.
Thank you, Steven. And now, yeah, that's right, folks. We're already here because Todd is not here. So we are moving on from trivia, unfortunately, this week. But don't worry, it will be back next week. So now it is time for our main event of the evening 2025's Sinners. Directed by Ryan Coogler, starring Sam Malone, Delroy Lindo, Yao, Aiden and Clarde, David Maldonado, Tanaj L. Jackson, Jack O'Connell, and Michael B. Jordan in his roles as Smoke and Stack. Plot: trying to leave their troubled lives behind, twin brothers return to their hometown to start again, only to discover that an even greater evil is waiting to welcome them back. That's pretty simplistic. There's
Very
not much.
simplistic.
There's not much there. Keeps it a little secretive. Keeps it a little
Mhm.
secretive. So Steve, why don't you tackle it a little better than Todd?
No.
We shall see.
Spoiler alert, no.
And let us know a little more about Sinners.
So this movie takes place in the kind of Jim Crow era, Prohibition time, like 1920s, 1930s, and it's Michael B. Jordan plays two different roles, Stack and Smoke. They're gangsters who come back from their respective gangs. One of them seems to have like aligned himself with the Irish, one of them with the Italians, and they come back to their hometown, and they decide that they want to start a new life and kind of make things better for the people in that town at the same time because they're successful black men in a time where black people were still being, kind of forced down and slavery was kind of like borderline by this point and everything like that. But there's still some slaves and everything. So they want to buy off some land and they want to buy off a plantation and they want to kind of give everyone a better life. That includes Sammy, who's played by Miles Catton. He is a musician that, he's a preacher's boy, and they hire him, and then they go on a quest to find different people because they want to throw a big party for everyone in the town who are, kind of repressed and have, a difficult time with everything that's going on around that era. So they go to different people, including, you have like someone to make food, which is the like wife of one of the gangsters. They have another musical artist that they want to hire. They have a guy who's there to check the door, all that stuff. And yeah, they're basically just want to throw a big shindig and start a new enterprise by opening this big bar in a kind of barn setting. Meanwhile, little do they know, there are vampires that are roaming around the area, and they come across this party, and they want in, and that's where the story kind of really starts taking off. Is the vampires obviously are denied entry, which they are not a fan of. They want some food. So the vampires start attacking and try to manipulate the people, and then all hell breaks loose, and it just goes crazy from there. So. Yeah, this movie, kind of a banger out these days. Like, wasn't really on my radar, honestly. Even though I think Ryan Coogler is like one of the best directors going, but holy shit, it's like breaking records. Its box office actually increased week to week, which is extremely rare. It's the most successful original film in the last 10 years, something like that. Yeah, so we were actually going to do Until Dawn, but when this movie started getting all the buzz, we're like, okay, we're going to switch it to Sinners. So, what do you think, Joe?
Yeah, I got to admit this movie was not on my radar either. Like we saw the trailer before one of the movies we reviewed, one of the 2020, maybe Companion or something like that. And like I saw a trailer and I was kind of like, eh. Like the trailer probably didn't do it justice, honestly. Like, because I was kind of like, oh, looks fine, but it wasn't. And then, I saw obviously all the buzz, 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, and then it's, once it, you can never trust that, fully, but it takes a lot for a movie to get 100% Rotten Tomatoes. And then obviously, all the buzz from people, from the everyday people who are going out and seeing it, saying it was awesome and it was amazing. And then, the fact that it's, breaking records, which is amazing and awesome, it just doesn't happen these days for original movies like this, which is really great. And says a lot, I guess, about Ryan Coogler. Um, the man, obviously, he Creed, Black Panther, right? And now was this his third movie? I mean,
No,
what
he did
else he's done?
Sunnyvale Station, which
Okay,
is his
I
first
know
one.
that was a Michael B. Jordan movie as
Yeah,
well, I
it's all
believe,
all
right?
Michael B.
Yeah.
Jordan, except
Okay.
for Black Panther 2 because
Okay.
he was dead.
Right,
So,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, man. So my expectations definitely rose going into this, which, sometimes can be a good thing, sometimes can be a bad thing. But yeah, man, I gotta say, this movie blew me away. I fucking loved it. It's so unique. It's not a unique movie, but it's like so unique. I mean, because we've seen movies like this before, but like the combination of sort of like a very serious story about racism in like the 1930s Mississippi and all that, but then like throwing in like the whole like vampire motif into like the first like hour plus of this movie is not a horror movie at all, really. It really deals with sort of very serious subject matter and whatnot, and doesn't feel like you're watching a horror movie at all. And then it just like turns it on its head. And in some ways, like I have seen this comparison before, and Ryan Coogler even said this, that from Dusk Till Dawn was a big inspiration when watching this movie. And coming out of the theater, I said that the same. I was like, it felt like a very serious version of From Dusk Till Dawn, and you can see why. And if you've seen the movie, I think you can kind of compare and contrast, and I think that's why I loved it so much, is because it reminded me of that. But man, it does its own thing clearly in so many different ways. This movie is acted phenomenally, like from top to bottom. There isn't a bad performance really in this movie. Everybody is, the whole cast of characters is amazing. The set designs are phenomenal. It's so, it's so hit or miss when you have an actor playing two different roles. And it's so funny because we literally just did Dead Ringers, where we, talked about how amazing, I can't think of the actor's name right now. Steve, help me out here.
Oh, it's Jeremy Irons.
We talked about how amazing Jeremy Irons was in Dead Ringers. And Michael B. Jordan. I mean, I love Michael B. Jordan. Everything I've seen him in, he's been fantastic in, and no exception here. He's great in his dueling roles as Smoke and Stack here. Yeah, man. There is like Ryan Coogler, man. Like, I hope he does another horror movie. I don't know if he ever will again. I'm sure, people will be knocking and pounding at his door. They already were, obviously, with, Black Panther and everything. But it's so interesting that he decided to go and make a movie like this, which I would say is not like something most mainstream audiences would usually jump onto, but I think they are now with all the buzz and everything like that. So it's great and great for the horror, community and horror genre that this movie is getting the amount of just love and buzz that it is. I'll say one more thing, Steve, because I know there's a lot, to talk and discuss about here, but I think it is just like incredibly impressive what he was able to accomplish here, and just some of these scenes are just absolutely unbelievable, and we'll get into them. One in particular that I think is an absolute 10 out of 10 like scene, which I'm sure you already know what I'm talking about, but yeah, just amazing all around. I left absolutely jazzed up. Like it was like, one of this is what I feel like, I haven't felt this way about a movie in a while. Like it's just like just from beginning to end. And it's amazing because this movie is very slow, but I was never bored once. Like it's such a good story. Like before you get into that crazy action sequence in the second half of this movie, like it's unbelievable. Yeah, I fucking loved it.
Yeah, same thing. I really didn't know much about it, and even when the buzz started, I purposely didn't read anything about it and tried to avoid like any kind of, spoilers or like reviews. Like I saw scores, but I didn't actually read the reviews on Letterboxd, for example. And yeah, I was totally blown away. It was just, oh my God, the way it's shot is so good. Like there are scenes, for example, there's one in particular, and it's such a small moment, but the Asian woman, I forget her name, she's just going like across the street from one store to another and then back, and it's like he follows her through, out of her store into the street, into the other store, follows her in the store, comes back out and never cuts. It's like one continuous shot. And they do a lot of really clever things like that within the movie. Not once did I feel that Michael B. Jordan wasn't like, like two characters. In Dead Ringers, a little bit. Sometimes I'd see Jeremy Irons because the guy would constantly like his twin would constantly kind of had his head turned or something so that you can't tell or something. But in this, like they're standing next to each other, they're passing a cigarette from one to another. It was just crazy, like the way it looked. The second part is the fucking music in this. Like I'm not a big musical guy, but holy shit, it fit this movie perfectly. And we'll talk about that sequence. I'm sure it's the same sequence. Holy shit, like they just blew me away with everything related to the music and everything. You gonna say that?
No, I mean, I'd say, I mean, we can talk. I'd say we can just talk about that
Yeah.
sequence. Since we both kind of mentioned it, that was a massive risk.
Yeah.
To kind of pull you out of, it's like sort of breaking the fourth wall in some ways, I
In a way,
guess,
yeah.
if you want to talk about it like that way. But like just going from like the history of sort of black music, the way they did it, like, they obviously like he's playing his sort of, guitar there in this speakeasy, I guess we can call it. And, all of a sudden, the movie starts with them kind of talking about that, music can sort of pierce the veil, and bring forth spirits and stuff like that. Well, in this scene in particular, he starts playing his music, and then we go through essentially from the 1930s up until current times, sort of the history of music. And I would say, black music in general, of sort of the history of it. We get, everything from, rap to DJs to
Yeah,
uh
blues to
blues,
jazz. Yeah.
jazz, and even sort of like a Megan Thee Stallion girl twerking, and
Yeah.
stuff like that. We get a little bit of everything there. And man, if that's put in the wrong director's hand or the wrong person's hand, it could come off horribly. But holy shit, does he absolutely nail it and it is one of the most inventive and awesome sort of scenes I've seen in any movie in a very long time. It blew me away, and it was amazing.
Yeah, and the way that it happens is seamless. So they're just
Yeah.
doing kind of, it's within, the 1920s, 1930s, and the people are dancing on the dance floor and everything like that. And all of a sudden, like people who kind of look out of place
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
like shown in the shot, and you're like, that's weird. That person, like the wardrobe's just not fitting. And all of a sudden you see like a fucking modern woman like dancing and twerking. And you're like, what the fuck's going on? And then
Yeah.
you have like traditional African dancers who are like showing
Hmm.
up. And all of a sudden it's like this crazy scene where just they're all mixed together and the music is playing in a way that's like multiple different styles. And
Yeah.
holy shit, it's just like the whole sequence. I just had my jaw on the floor. It was insane
Yeah.
how good, like, yeah, that's one of the best like sequences ever, period.
Yeah.
Like I'd
Agreed.
put it up there with a sequence like the first scene in Inglorious Bastards
Mm.
with Christopher Waltz, kind
Hmm.
of mentally destroying a French guy who's hiding, someone under his floor. Just the artistry, the music, the colors, the editing. It was a perfect scene, and it was
Yeah.
worth it just for that. And the rest of the movie is amazing, but that scene alone is like worth seeing the
Yeah.
movie for.
Yeah, and then like with the building sort of almost a foreshadowing of the building burning down, and then like
Yeah.
they're all dancing sort of with the building burning around them, and we end up seeing, it takes us eventually to the lead vampire. Um, yeah, I mean, it's just a really just like a Magnus opus type scene for this director. It should be something he's massively proud of, and I think everybody. I was kind of reading through some of the letterbox reviews, and a lot of people did mention that scene in particular. And how could you not? I mean, it's incredible. Um, as far as the rest of the movie goes, I'm sure you got notes, Steve. Is there any other talking points?
Oh,
There's
there's
a
there's
lot.
yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, before we get to the horror, because there is like
Right.
it does turn to horror at some
Right.
point. It's funny
Eventually.
when you watch movies like this. Like, I don't know if you feel the same way, but every time I'm watching a movie, and I watch, 80% horror, so and the movie starts off where it's really not horror, I always think
Yeah.
like, oh man, it's too bad it's a horror movie because I know shit's gonna go down like crazy.
Yeah.
Like these poor people are just don't know what's coming to them.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, they really just don't introduce the horror until very late when this indigenous hunter group, which I did
Mhm.
want to mention,
I wanted more of them, honestly,
yeah, that's
Steve.
actually
I,
one of
I, I
my
thought I
few
thought they were gonna
complaints.
come back or something, you know?
I thought they were going
Yeah.
to save the day, or at least
Yeah.
help to save the day at the end,
Hmm. Yeah.
because they introduce them as these like indigenous hunters. They know that the vampires are a thing. They're chasing the vampires to this house in the middle of nowhere, but
Hmm.
the sun is setting, so they have to leave because the vampires will now have the advantage. And they just never revisited that's how we're introduced to the vampires. But it was kind of a bummer that they didn't kind of push that point at all. Like, I
Hmm.
want to know more about them. Why
Right.
are they, like, what's their deal?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we never do get like a backstory on these vampires or where they're from or anything like that. I don't know if it was necessary per se, but I mean, obviously these indigenous people were hunting them and whatnot. So yeah, I mean, it would have been cool to see a little more. I mean, the movie was already 2 hours and 17 minutes long, so I don't
Yeah.
know how much really longer, maybe there was some stuff in there and they had to cut it or whatever, with that. But yeah, I would have liked to have seen a little more with them. But yeah, I mean, you're not wrong, man. I mean, what is it? Maybe an hour and a
Yeah.
half
Yeah.
before
It's a long time.
we get that. I mean, there's some little horror sprinkled in, the
Right.
indigenous people with that sort of one scene and sort of the vampires sort of lurking outside, trying to get inside
Mhm.
the bar is happening for a little while there, but it doesn't really take off for I mean probably an hour and a half in. But man, I mean I think that goes as a testament to how good this movie is because like I was like there was one moment where I'm like, man, they're really taking their time here, but like I said, I was never bored, and I think it's really a masterclass of developing characters where it's like you really really do care about every single one of you meet every single one of these characters. You kind of know all of their stories. And like I said, in like a worse script or something, you'd be bored. You'd be like, all right, like let's get to the horror here and stuff. But I mean, every single character is like very likable. There's really not like
So
you and
there is one for me.
smoke that's unlikable. I mean,
Well,
smokestack aren't good people,
no,
right? I mean,
sure.
they're really shitty people.
Yeah. No, there's one character that I felt was unneeded for me
Okay.
and that I didn't love, and that was Haley Steinfeld's character,
Okay.
Mary. So she plays an ex-girlfriend. I forget to smoke or stack, like which is which, but
Yeah.
she plays an ex-girlfriend, and I just never really felt like she was needed for this
Hmm.
story. Uh, like I get that they wanted to have kind of one kind of more white woman
Yeah.
be part of the group, but it really wasn't necessary to me. And I didn't find her story went anywhere interesting.
Hmm.
So that character to me was maybe the one that I would have cut from this film,
I
personally.
would, yeah, I would agree. Like, I don't think she was like she was fine. Like, but
Yes, nothing against her. It's the
like,
character, really. Like, yeah.
yeah, agreed. Yeah, like, I mean, she gave a good performance and all that. But yeah, I
Mhm.
agree. Like, character wise, I guess she was probably the one. I was kind of like, yeah, whatever. Like, yeah, I mean, she was like had this sort of like if we're going over on relationships, that relationship, one of them had with the woman who sort of ran that witch
Yeah,
doctor place or whatever was far more interesting,
agreed. Yeah.
to me. And you really felt sort of that connection, sort of they had with the loss of their child,
Mhm.
too, which comes into play as well. But can we talk about the vampires,
Yeah,
who
absolutely.
are sort of lead vampires as well here, real quick, which is another fucking phenomenal scene, might I add, of them doing the Irish
Musical
singing
number,
and
essentially.
that
Yeah.
Irish sort of singing and dance number
Yeah.
outside, which I thought was. Man, just like the introduction of all this sort of different music, this soundtrack is amazing.
Yeah.
Like it is like so awesome. Sam was like, already I think already ordered the vinyl.
Of course.
It's our yeah, you can I think Made by Mutant has released the
Mhm.
vinyl so you can snag it for those of you who collect vinyl. But that scene as well is amazing. It's so cool like the introduction of all these sort of different musical sort of genres sort of and it just sort of worked when you meld like sort of all this music together. It was so cool, and that scene is great as well once they started turning sort of some of the people in the bar and you sort of have them all doing this sort of like Irish jig outside and stuff like that, and sort of the it was so interesting, sort of the, juxtaposition between sort of the two different musical genres sort of melding together there. It was pretty cool. So there, I mean, and I thought he was good, like the lead vampire, and
Yeah.
it's very rare I say that because I think one of my biggest complaints about when we did Blade, I was like, he kind of has that sort of vibe going for him, that Deacon thing where he like, there's nothing special about him
Right.
like per se. He doesn't have this scary look, but I thought he was really good in his role, and they didn't need to make him your typical like fucking master scary type vampire. He just had some sort of glowing eyes and that scene where sort of they're first introduced the three well after he turns the other two and them trying to get into the bar
Mhm.
was great and really good tension as well because you're not just dealing with the vampire them being vampires, you're dealing with them sort of being white people wanting to get into a sort of a black bar and sort of the fear of them being racist or clan members or something like that was just like it was so cool that they're really interesting that they're not only working with vampires versus humans but also sort of that 1930s with era of whites versus not whites versus blacks but like clan members obviously that were going after the blacks during that time. So it was really interesting them sort of melding all these sort of different stories and genres together here.
Yeah, which is another like plot point that's going on in this film is so they buy this land and this place from like a white man,
Yeah.
and they suspect that he's a clan member.
Hmm.
Um, and sure enough, he is essentially using this purchase as a way to bring all of them together so they can,
Hmm.
kill them, which is like kind of this subplot they don't really like it's not a focus in the
Yeah.
majority of the film, but it does come back in a big way like later on. But you always, despite them not really being in the movie all that much, other than beginning and the end, you feel like their presence in a weird way as like just another antagonist, So you have the
Hmm.
vampires and you have kind of the clan members that are just there to do damage.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, we could talk about what Sammy is that his name too?
I
The
think,
young,
yeah, I call him Preacher Boy, but
preacher
yeah,
boy. Yeah. I mean, yeah. He's sort of our main. I mean, he is our main character, kinda, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, I would call
Well, yeah.
Smoke and Stack, and then him, like our sort of our three main characters throughout. And yeah, so I mean, his story is really interesting too because he's related. He's the cousin of
Mhm.
Smoke and Stack, and his dad's a preacher, and he sort of has this sort of internal battle of him wanting to sort of leave, you know, the sort of church and stuff and kind of go out and live his own life and whatnot. And I thought he was great. I loved his story and a fantastic actor as well here. I don't know if he's ever been in anything else,
Not really.
but
Little things, but nothing.
I think after this, you're definitely going to see him in more stuff as well.
Absolutely. He's got a great voice. He's got a
Yeah.
great presence. Yeah, he was just really good in his role. And
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, like you said, the whole cast just absolutely fantastic from top to bottom, yeah, Delroy Lindo, I fucking
Oh,
love
I
that
love
dude,
that
man.
guy. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
he's good in
great in
everything.
everything. He
Yeah.
really is. He really is. I
And
love
he
that guy.
he kind of brings the I
The
mean, it's not,
comedy
yeah,
relief, comedic
the
relief.
comic
Yeah.
relief without being like a comedian. Just
Right.
he's kind of a smart ass and
Yeah,
kind of the badass of
he's like
the
the local drunk basically that they wrangle up and he can play the harmonica and they want him and Sammy to sort of team up and be the band at this place. Yeah, I mean, there's other musical numbers too. I mean, he's got his musical number and then there's
Mhm.
a woman. She's sort of just a random sort of character who also does a
Yeah, she's like
musical
a love
number as
interest
well. Yeah.
for a preacher boy, right?
Yes.
Like,
Yes. Yes. A lot of cunnilingus in this movie,
oh my God.
as well.
Yeah. Yeah, he's playing her like a trumpet, like
Right. Yeah.
like yeah. Yeah, I don't know why. Yeah, that was a interesting scene for sure. But yeah, her character also though not super needed, for
No.
the overall story. It's like they were just packing people to kill.
Well, like, yeah, I think like, and we'll get into it because there's a scene sort of at the end where it's kind of talked about. It's like all of the sort of bullshit that these people are dealing with in their everyday lives, like for
Mhm.
this like just 2 hour period, like they're able to just sort of forget about all the racism happening outside of that bar and stuff like that, and sort of all being able to connect through music, through friendship, through sort of everything, where they kind of had this sort of just that one night where they could sort of forget everything,
Yeah.
which was great. Like, and it
Mhm.
was, important until the vampires come in.
Yeah, and I liked the whole thing. So Smoke and Stack disagreed in the way to run this kind of bar.
Yeah.
They one of them didn't want to accept they were like these specific chips that come from
Oh, that's
slave
right.
owners, I believe,
Yeah, like from them working on like the plantations, because you see them
like cotton
they're working
picking
in
and
the cotton
stuff.
fields.
Yeah.
They're picking the cotton a lot and stuff, and yeah, like yeah, the slave owners are paying them these wood nickels sort of thing or whatever. Yeah.
Basically, and one of them's like, no, if we take those, then we're going to go out of business super quickly. The other one's
Right.
like, the whole point of this is to let people like that have a chance at forgetting all
Right.
the fucking crazy and bad shit that's going on in the world. So
Hmm.
I like that whole kind of like,
Yeah.
like,
No,
and
it.
that's something Michael B. Jordan like is crazy because even though they look, they're identical twins, other than
Yeah.
the way they dress, you could tell who was who in the movie. Just,
Hmm.
it
Yeah.
was crazy. Like he just changed a little bit. It wasn't even that big,
Right.
but it was subtle changes that made him.
Oh yeah. I mean, obviously they did the major thing of them wearing like two different color hats and
Sure.
stuff,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, it definitely felt like two completely different characters. Obviously, like one is a little more softer than the other and
Yeah.
whatnot. All right, should we get into the horror aspects
Yeah,
of
let's
this?
talk about the horror because the horror is solid. Like
Yeah.
the kills are brutal, the makeup is awesome. It seemed to be all practical or mostly practical at the
Yeah,
very
I'd
least.
say so. Yeah.
Maybe enhancement a little bit on like when they're missing parts of their face or whatever.
Yeah.
But it was fucking brutal in a good way, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it sort of all starts, it starts kind of slow, like little guy's going that guy, the doorman, Cornbread, he goes out to take a piss and he ends up turning and tries to get back in and um, you know, well, actually, that he gets turned, but even before that, right? Haley Stanfeld's
Yeah.
character gets turned. I forget why. She kind of goes outside, and they were able to snag her up or whatever.
She goes to talk to the Irish people,
Oh, to the
thinking that
band,
she
right?
can like
Yeah, that's right.
to figure out like what their deal is, basically.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. And she gets turned, and Cornbread ends up letting her back in because, and
Right.
obviously inviting a vampire back in. And what's really sets this whole movie in motion in the second part is basically her now as a vampire. She lures Smoke or Stack. I mean, I'll never
Right.
forget. I'll never forget.
One of them.
I'll never forget which is which, obviously, because they're twin brothers. But she lures the one that she's involved with, with a little bit of lust, and they end up in the back room having sex, and she turns into her vampire mode and ends up killing one of them. Shockingly, I was not expecting one of them to die, sort of
Right.
before our main thing. So I thought that was sort of a good shock. Did it shock you, or were you expecting
I
it?
mean, it shocked me, but it makes sense because to
Yeah,
have one of them as a vampire, and then kind of
right.
complicates things for everyone else. And thankfully, they had, the kind of medicine priest girlfriend there because she's the one who knew, like, don't let him in. She kind of is the one who knew about vampires and stuff like
Right.
that. So yeah, it almost gave me like Night of the Demons, not Night of the Demons, sorry, Demon Knight vibes,
Demon Eye
where
vibes, yeah.
they're like kind of outside and they
Yeah.
want to get in and they can't, and they're trying to like convince people inside to like
Yeah.
let them in. It was like really interesting in that way.
Demon
And
Knight from Dusk Till Dawn, for sure. Because,
yeah,
yeah, I mean, because, like, after that, obviously, he ends up, like, getting out as a vampire, and then it's like them being like, we need to survive the night until daylight, basically. Can't let these vampires inside. They're in a bar. That's where, obviously, like, the whole From Dusk Till vibes with this ragtag group, right? Like, it's just
right.
sort of a little bit of everybody in there. You got the Asian couple, you got, the drunk, you got, one of the brothers, and yeah, basically this whole sort of ragtag group has to now survive these vampires from entering into this establishment, which doesn't go well.
No, because
Unfortunately,
I forget which one, but one
it's
of them
the
is like
Asian lady.
yeah, because her husband
Yeah,
gets
her
bit.
husband turns. Yeah,
So she's basically like, "Come and get us, motherfuckers!" And
Yeah.
just lets all of them
There's
in.
the
It's
invite.
like, well,
Yeah.
I guess we're fucking fighting now.
Yeah, and from there, just like sort of all hell breaks loose. The vampires have now been invited in, and yeah, I mean, it just turns into a complete melee, vampires versus the human characters, and
Mhm.
it's become sort of a bloodbath.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we lose everybody,
Almost
like
everybody. Yeah.
almost everybody, and it's every single
Well,
death. It's
everybody
like,
except Preacher Boy and
right, Preacher Boy and Smoke or Stack, whichever one. We should
well,
probably know which one survived, but
well, not even. It's just Preacher Boy that makes it.
oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Because that's right. They
Yeah,
had the shootout at
because
the
this
end.
movie kind of has three endings,
It does.
which is so we should talk about those. So the first ending is the end of the vampire conflict, right?
Yes.
So they managed to kill some of the vampires, and a lot of them get away for some reason. I guess they just run away because that's
Mhm.
established later. But they do kill the main vampire, with parts of the guitar that
Mhm.
or the banjo that
It was silver. There was silver
yeah,
in the
right,
guitar,
exactly.
and the
So
silver kind of damages him.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I thought, I don't know if you thought the same thing. I thought that anyone who turned because of him, so essentially everyone in the story, because they're all like, very some of them died or at least lost their power when he was killed, because it showed a few of them as soon as he died that they were affected by him getting damaged and stuff.
Right.
but it's established after that that wasn't the case at all.
Right.
And
Yeah, they don't
so
really go over the rules too
no,
well
it was I
here.
was kind of
Yeah.
confused with that.
Yeah, the vampire rules aren't fully sort of established here, and we
Mhm.
find that out, later on in the third ending of the movie, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, it was a bummer. I like actually felt for most of these characters when they did die. You know, the drunk guy saves the day or saves a couple of them by sort of sacrificing
Yeah.
himself. So Preacher Boy and Smokestack can get. I'm just gonna call him Smokestack at this
Sure.
point, and
Yeah,
Smokestack
yeah.
can get away. Yeah, and yeah, so they defeat that vampire, and then we get to our second ending, I suppose, here where Preacher Boy he gets away, but Smokestack he basically knows what's to come. Like
Yeah.
he,
And he's all like the other one, where Stack Smoke, we'll call him,
yeah,
uh, is presumed dead at this point because the
right.
last time we see them together, it looks like he's about to like kill him, like stab him and
Right.
finish off the vampire version of them. So
Hmm.
yeah, so it's just one of them left at this point, or so you think. And yeah, he's decides to stay back at the bar.
How did he know that was going to happen, though? Like,
I think he knew that was the plan all along. I
you
just
think so?
because he mentions very early on that he has a case full of guns,
Hmm.
and I think he knew, and it was going to be him and his brother probably like doing a
Hmm.
standoff later. But he had a feeling that the clan people were going to come and attack them that night.
Yeah, I understand why they chose it to be the clan, obviously, for this movie, but would it have made more? I don't know if it would have made more sense if it was the Irish or the Italians that came, considering like
Yeah,
I thought that was kind of going to be the thing because they talked about how basically they robbed the Irish and the Italians, so they to kind of throw them off the scent that they're the one that they stole all this sort of money from them when they were in Chicago because
exactly.
they do mention that Smoke and Stack worked for Al Capone's gang basically
All right,
in Chicago, and then they come after sort of they rob the Italians and the Irish, and that's why they have this money to come back and be back at their hometown in Mississippi,
exactly.
to sort of start this sort of new business venture. I don't know, would it have made more sense, or do you like? I think for this movie, obviously, like with so much kind of talked about with the sort of whole like sort of clan
Right.
angle and stuff like that, it made sense, I guess, that it was clan members rather than sort of the gangs coming from
Yeah, and I
Chicago.
think it would have made more sense for the clan members because they're killable. Whereas I
Yeah,
feel if the like Irish Italian mafia went all
yeah,
the way there to kill them in Mississippi, they would have like annihilated. They would have been
yeah,
all like, yeah. So I
fair.
think, yeah, I think for this story, it was probably better. It was the clan
Yeah,
members from the beginning.
agreed. I mean, it just makes sense,
Mhm.
like, so yeah, I mean, the clan shows up, in their fucking little pickup trucks, and he's ready, man. He has his full artillery and fucking takes them all down. But unfortunately, loses his life,
Mhm.
in the process. Do you think he was? Do you think it was sort of always the plan? Do you think he wanted to sort of go out, or
I think
because
I
he
don't
lost his
necessarily think,
brother, he kind of lost
yeah.
everyone he loved. Like, is it like I'm just gonna go out in a blaze of glory, or do you think he expected to survive this sort of
I think
shootout?
he expected to be killed, but it wasn't necessarily his wish, It was
Yeah,
kind of like a suicide mission, but if I live, awesome.
yeah,
But I knew he would die because they had this whole scene where when his like I don't know if it's wife or girlfriend or partner or whatever, the witch like queen there or
yeah,
whatever, that was yeah, the voodoo lady, she says like I'll see you later with our was it son or daughter that had passed
yeah.
away.
Son, I believe it was. Yeah.
Yeah, so I had a feeling that he joined them, and sure enough, as he's dying, he sees them, just as a vision. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's a good
Yeah.
ending for him. Yeah,
It was a good, yeah, a very good ending for him. Yeah, it wasn't like an ending where like you feel terrible. You're like he's finally sort of at
yeah,
peace, I guess.
hmm
Because he obviously had a lot of demons and whatnot throughout his life and stuff. So it felt like a good ending for that character. And then I guess there's four endings because then we gotta get the Preacher Boys
Oh yeah,
sort of ending too before we get to the mid-credit ending as
right.
well. Yeah, I mean, Preacher Boy, it's how the movie opens. And you said you usually hate that, Steve. Did you hate it in this one?
The
Because
like
the movie opens with the ending, sort of, right? Like the ending of the movie it opens with Preacher Boy going in after the
Oh
events
yeah.
of that night.
Yeah, it's not my favorite thing. I don't
Yeah.
know. It bothered me less in this particular one for some reason. Maybe it was the way it was done or everything like that. But like, I'm
To me,
tired.
it didn't give anything away. I mean, Preacher
Yeah,
Boy's going to survive, but you didn't know the fate of any of the other characters per
exactly.
se. So, I
Yeah,
mean, yeah, for me it worked. It
but
was
it's a
fine.
trope that I'm like
No,
they can stop it now.
yeah.
Like I don't want to see it anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what? Preacher Boy ends up. He goes in, and how does that sort of end?
That's the end credit scene. Um. This is the weird thing that I really wanted to discuss with you.
Yeah.
So the movie ends with essentially Preacher Boy going back to the church
And
and
he drives away, right? Like decides I'm done,
yeah,
right? And
yeah,
he drives
basically.
away, and
Yeah,
yeah,
and end of the movie, right?
goes and lives his life, and then they show him right as credits are rolling, like he had an extremely successful career. He's now old now, and he's playing like blues music,
Hmm.
played by actor Buddy Guy, actually, who's like a blues legend. I
Right.
thought was funny. And yeah, and you think the movie's over, and
Yeah.
half my theater
Me
left.
too. Everyone's just like, okay, I'm out because
Movie's
like
over.
unless it's a fucking Marvel movie or something like that, you're not thinking that there's after credit scenes. And even if there are, it's probably some fucking stupid like little thing. So yeah, no, everyone left. Now I'm trained to always check. I have this great app called RunP. I don't know
Yeah.
if you know about this app.
I think you mentioned it on the show
Yeah,
before.
so
Yeah.
RunP is an app that's designed to tell you if there's any after credit scenes. It doesn't spoil it for you. It just tells you there's
Hmm.
yes or no, and okay, it's like 2 minutes into the credits, and
Hmm.
it even says if it's important or not, you know?
Hmm.
And it also has the best times within the movie to go pee because it's the times that have the least important like moments in the film for you to like take a break. Great app, free, highly recommended. So I knew there was something going on. So mid credit and end credit. Now the mid credit was like 6 fucking minutes long and super important to the movie. And like you said, half my theater had already left. And then a lot of the other ones were like in the stairs or at the bottom. Like, oh shit, there's something else, you know? So this is yeah, it's an interesting scene. It's him as a old man. He just finished a set. He's drinking alone at the bar after like a successful set, and fucking in walks Smoke or Stack, whichever the vampire version
Yeah.
with Haley Steinfeld. And I'm like, oh shit, he's gonna kill them.
Yeah.
Nope, just sits down gently and basically tells him like I made a deal with my brother
Hmm.
that I wouldn't kill you, and I just want to see how you're doing. And they talk about
Yeah.
like what happened to the vampires. They talk about like basically their lives are better now, and it's like yeah, it's weird. It's weird that they put this in the middle. I don't
It's
understand.
it's crazy, man. It's such a huge, like, important plot point of the story. It's like it completes sort of the story of like, wow, like, okay, well, smoke. Okay, so like, yeah, like these two vampires survived, like, which we would have had if you left the theater, you have no idea that happened, and then sort of Sammy's character talking about, that night was, he has this really great like sort of line about like how he wakes up like at least once a week in sort of a paralysis about that night, but he also remembers like those 2 hours before was like the greatest night of his life and all this stuff. And it just kind of sort of adds more depth to sort of his character and what he went through after that incident, but also like lends to, the vampires, and the vampires even are like, do you want, we can let you live forever if you want. And he's
Right.
like, nah, I think I've had enough of this life. Like I'm ready to go out soon or whatever. And yeah, I mean, it was a fantastic scene, and it
Yep.
was long. It was like had to have been like a 5 minute scene,
Yep.
like at
Easily.
least.
Yep.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean, shocking that they wouldn't like that they left it for like a mid-credit scene where most people probably walked out and aren't going to see that.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, kind of weird
It
because
is
it's
like
such a huge plot point and like very important.
I read Ryan Coogler's like explanation. He said he felt it wasn't like it was a it was a weird way to end the film, he said.
Yeah, I mean,
So
I can see that in some ways. Like
yeah, but
it was
don't put it
fine. It was fine the way they ended it, but like at that added depth, like it does add a lot. So I could see like both. I guess I can see like him saying it is kind of a weird way to end the movie, I suppose. But like, Why include it at all then? I guess
Yeah.
like
Honestly, if you really want to do that, fade to black, leave it black for 2, 3 seconds,
yeah,
and then go to the other scene, like as if
sure,
this is extra, but
yeah,
not a minute and a half into the credits when
yeah.
part of the theater is left. It was weird.
Yeah, I mean, I love the scene. I thought it was
Yeah,
a great.
amazing. Yeah, that's why.
I thought it was awesome and it was a great scene. Yeah, and then we got one last end credit
End
scene,
credit.
which is just Sammy singing a song, which
Mhm.
was beautiful and great. Yeah, and that
Yeah.
pretty much wraps it up. I think that's the whole
Yep.
movie. We
That's
went
the
through it
one.
all.
Yes. I'm sure we missed some stuff too, but
Oh yeah, for
there's a
sure.
lot. This movie is a lot.
There's a lot going on in this movie for sure.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, all right. All right, I guess let's get into rating and see unless you got anything else.
No, I'm good. What do you rate it, Joe?
Ooh,
Yeah,
I don't
I know.
know. I coming out of the theater, I was a 5 out of 5. And I go back and forth between a 4.5 or a 5. It's tough for me to rate any movie a 5 out of
Yeah, I
5.
know.
You know, but man, if any movie deserves it, it probably is this one. My biggest, I guess, complaint about this movie would be I think it is a little long.
Mhm.
I think it could have been trimmed up a little bit, but yeah, man, I don't know. Like I am going to give it a 5 out of 5. Honestly, I think it's one of the best movies that's come out horror wise in a long time, and it's just different. Like it combines drama and horror so well along with the music. I really have very few complaints about this movie, and if the
Mhm.
runtime's my biggest complaint, it's really not that bad of a complaint, really, because even like I was never bored the entire runtime. Like,
Right.
I think on a rewatch, I'd be interested to see on a rewatch how I feel about it with the runtime and stuff. But man, like it's just so good. It's such a good movie, and if any movie deserves a 5 out of 5 within the last 10 years or whatever, it really is this one. It really is an epic in a lot of ways. Yeah, and I give shockingly, I'm giving this a 5 out of 5. It's easily my number one of the year. I don't think anything's gonna top it, honestly.
Yeah. Since you started the podcast, how many 5 out of 5s have you given a new movie? Like something that just came out in theater, you watch it and you're like 5 out of 5.
Not many, not many.
Can you even think
This
of one?
I can't. This might be my first. If not, it's like my second. It's very few. Count them on one finger for sure.
Yeah, so this is actually going to be my second.
All right,
After only Godzilla minus one, which I
nice.
think is a fucking masterpiece. Also 5 out of 5. I was more see I was more of a 4.5
Hmm.
walking out of the theater, but it's really stayed with me over the last week.
Sure.
And I think about that fucking sequence, and I think about the horror, and I think about the depth of this movie and the everything. Like it's
Yeah.
the cinematography, the score, the directing, the acting, it's like
Yeah.
if I'm not going to give this one 5 out of 5, what the fuck am I going to give 5 out of 5?
Agreed. That's
It
why
doesn't
like
mean perfect.
yeah.
It just
Right.
means it's as good as it's going to get.
Yeah. Agreed.
There's no perfect movie, so I'm going 5 out of 5 for this one as well.
Awesome.
And I
It's
agree. There's no fucking way anything's going to top that this year.
no, I'd be
You know,
shocked.
in fact, like
Gonna take a lot.
top 3 movie of the decade, probably. When by the
Yeah.
time, I mean, I hope I'm wrong. Can you imagine if this is like a low 10?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, this one is going to stick with me for a while.
Agreed. Agreed. For sure. It's awesome. And like I said, I'm very interested to see how it does on a rewatch. But I mean, God, coming out of that theater, I was blown away. I was like,
Yep.
holy shit. And I was not expecting it. I think it also the fact that just like it sort of was flying under the radar. Like no one was really talking about this movie really
Yeah.
until it comes out. And that's just so awesome.
What do you
Um,
think Todd gives it? I think he's a 4.
4, yeah, I think he's gonna like it a lot because I mean he loves From Dusk Till Dawn, and I
Mhm.
think it hits those beats. Yeah, I don't know. He doesn't love slow burns and
Right.
slower movies, so I think that might drag on him a little bit. I think he's still gonna really like it. I don't think he'll be at a 5 though. I
No,
agree.
I think I'd 4 max 4.5. I think he'll be a 4 out of 5.
Okay, yeah,
I'm predicting it now. That's
I'm really interested to see what he thinks about this one.
Yeah.
All right. So what do our friends over at Letterboxd have to say about this one? Currently sitting at a 4.2, ladies and
That's
gentlemen.
high.
So that is extremely high. as well. And literally, like everyone in my friends list has it between 4.5 and fives, like
Yeah, me
basically
too.
with a couple people with fours, but nothing below a four. So yeah, very high praise
Yeah. Which
for
this
this
day and
movie
age is rare as
all
hell.
around.
So,
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, I haven't really heard anyone talk bad about this movie, really. And like, not many. I'm sure there's always going to be a few out there, you know what I mean? But I would say this is like one of the first times in a while that the very strong, like 90% plus majority are loving this movie, and very, very good reason too.
mhm.
Um, would you want to see a Sinners 2, Steve?
Oh, that's like I don't think it's necessary, but those vampires are so cool, and there's so many stories they could tell. I mean, I'd watch a movie just about the indigenous
Yeah,
hunters,
that
you
would be
know?
cool. That'd be a cool
So
little
if they
like
do it that way,
side
where it's
plot.
like within the same world but not tied to anyone from the story, because I think all their stories, well, most of them are dead, but I think
Yeah.
Preacher Boy story is wrapped up. Like so in that sense, yeah, but I don't know. I think
Yeah.
that's yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna say leave it as it is. We don't need
Mhm.
it. Anything else. But man, Coogler, fucking fantastic.
Yeah, I hope he makes
And
more horror.
I mean, I've only seen three of his movies. I've seen Creed, Black Panther, and now this, and I loved all three of them. So,
Yeah,
I mean, the guy's let's hope he can maybe he'll do another horror movie for us. That'd be awesome.
I hope so.
Alrighty, I think that's gonna wrap it up then for this week's episode. Next week, what do we got, Steve?
Well, Saturday, so the day after this episode comes out, is Todd's birthday. So
Ooh,
happy birthday, Todd. And everyone go wish him happy birthday on Saturday as well. And because of that, Todd got to pick his birthday pick for the year. And he decided, I think in memoriam to one of the actresses who recently passed away from this
Lar
movie.
Park Lincoln. Yep.
Yeah, so we're going to do Friday the 13th, part 7. So, yeah, that's what we're going to do. Friday the 13th, part 7.
Alrighty, folks. So there you have it. That should be readily available
Everywhere.
pretty
You should own
much
it. Shame
everywhere.
on you if you don't. No,
Right.
okay.
So go and check it out. Friday the 13th, part 7. And it is a new blood. The new blood,
Yeah.
to be exact. Terry Kaiser also in
Oh,
that one as
right.
well. So there you go. Got a little Bernie action as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, go check it out. Should be, like I said, readily accessible pretty much everywhere. That's one I haven't watched in a while. I just remember it being Jason versus Kerry is what I would just used to
Basically,
call
yeah.
it. Yeah. So yeah, go and check it out next week, folks. In the meantime, you can keep up with the podcast, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Threads. Just search the Horror Squad Podcast. You can email us anytime, the Horror Squad Podcast at gmail.com. But of course, the absolute best way to keep up with the podcast is our Discord. Totally and completely free to join. Amazing community over there. We have Movie Club every single month hosted by Steve. We have a VR club now where if you have a VR headset, you can come and join us and play some VR video games, as well as many, many other channels to sift through horror and non-horror wise. Join the amazing community over there and talk everything. That is linked on our Instagram, or you can send us a DM or an email, and it'll get you a link to join that Discord. Also, don't forget, leave us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast app if you haven't already. That helps us grow. And if you'd like to buy merch, tpublic.com, the Horror Squad podcast. We have a bunch of different designs over there for you to pick from, including the final episode merch as well for our new movie that we will have coming out to you in 2026. I think that's about it, folks. Don't forget important dates one more time. It's just a bunch of Halloween weekend, October 2nd through the 5th in Salem, Massachusetts, with the cast of Hocus Pocus. It's just a bunch of Halloween.com for all details. And this weekend, on Saturday, I will be moderating panels for Wicked New England, a halfway to Halloween celebration festival at Old Town Hall, also in Salem, Massachusetts. So if you're in the area, come out, see me, hang, buy some merch from Sam over at the Halloween Happy Table. It'll be a great time. And that's it, folks. So we'll see you next week for Friday the 13th, Part 7, The New Blood. See ya.
Bye.